to our on-demand videos. Today's topic is common questions for tax return regarding online workers from Canada. Here with us today is Ryan. Ryan, can you tell our audience here what is your occupation and how long have you been doing it?
I'm a chartered professional accountant, so a CPA, and I've been doing that for about 13 years. Worked for a local accounting firm, and I've done taxes for a long time.
Perfect, nice. And myself, my name is Iris. I am a current online teacher for VIP Kit for the last 2.5 years. And fun fact, Ryan here is actually my fiance, so he does all our taxes. So on our Facebook group, we have some very good questions about Canadian tax returns. So let's get started. Our first question here from Martha. What are reasonable expenses that can be claimed for moving?
Two common ones would be travel. Travel, you can claim kilometers. You don't necessarily have to use fuel receipts, although you should keep them. Kilometers, there's a certain rate that you can claim per kilometer, and it varies depending on what province you're in. So, and you can find that on the CRA website actually as to what that kilometer rate you're eligible for. For example, at Alberta, if you're moving from Alberta to maybe another place in Alberta or out of province, it's 48 cents a kilometer. If a different example, Northwest Territories, it's 64 cents a kilometer. So there's quite a variance depending on where you are.
So the first type, what is the second type?
Oh yes, the second type. Second type is meals. So $17. You're allowed $17 a meal, up to a maximum of $51 per day, which is per person. So meals can be, it's quite generous, and if you have a family of 4, family of 5, whatever, it could be a couple $100.
Nice, very good to know. Mary here want to ask, can you explain EI benefit for self-employed workers?
EI benefits. Well, when you're self-employed, you automatically do not qualify for EI. Having said that, you can make an application with Service Canada to be eligible for EI benefits. I can't exactly remember the application form name of it, but there is one that's available, and then from there you can, if you enroll in that, you would be eligible for paternity, maternity leave, sickness, and a few other little benefits as well. Having said that, it's quite rare that I've seen people actually apply for that. Just mainly because it's a little bit on the expensive side, but it might work for some people.
Oh, so it depends on the person. I see. Perfect. We have multiple teachers here who are dual citizens. They live in Canada, or they move to another country, or they go between two countries. Do they have to file tax return in Canada?
It depends on how long they lived in Canada in a particular year. If you've lived in Canada for 183 days or greater and have ties in Canada, yes, you would have to file a tax return in Canada. But there's a lot of complications with that too, so I highly suggest you seek a CPA to figure out what your tax obligations actually are.
Yes, can you give us an example of some complications in that?
Well, if you earn income in Canada but live there for less than 183 days, you might be considered a non-resident for Canadian tax purposes, but you would still have to, if you have Canadian income, you may have to file a Canadian tax return based on Canadian income only. Oh. Yeah. Whereas a different scenario, if you lived in Canada for greater than 183 days, you may be taxed on worldwide income.
I see. Interesting. Very good. Thank you. Next question from Dora. What percentage do I have to put in the REER in order to not owe anything? Which I believe that's a term for retirement saving.
Yes. Really depends. And the best strategy to do that is in January or early February, figure out what your income is for the year. And I suggest checking with a professional of some kind to figure out what that RSP amount would be to put in, just so you can pay as little tax as possible. And that's why they have the RSP deadline being typically it's usually end of February or first couple days of March.
Oh, I see. Perfect. Thank you. We also have multiple questions here asking, what kind of form or paperwork do I need to show the government I make this money online?
The form you would use is 2125 schedule, and you can find that on the Canada Revenue Agency website. There's a little PDF that you can download for that, or a lot of the tax software out there will have that form as well, and that's where you would report all your gross income and your expenses related to VIP Kids.
Oh, I see. Perfect. Now, let's see here. The next question. How much should a person set aside to cover for taxes? And how do I find that out? Is it by annual? Is it quarterly?
It's based on your annual income for the year. And in fact, there's all sources of income, not just what you do with VIP Kids, but also with your employment income and other income and expenses that you may have. So, and there's a lot of different types of tax brackets. So it's hard to say as to how much you should set aside. Probably your best example, if your income is similar from year to year, maybe just base it on your prior year tax return. Check on your line 150, your line 236 is what your net income, that's what you're being taxed on. And then check what your taxes payable was for that year. That would probably give you the best rate as to what how much you should hold back.
Okay, so estimate from previous year. Perfect. Okay, we have two more questions here. Julian has one business already. She's considering VIP Kit a second business. Does she need to register VIP Kit as a second business?
Well, you don't formally have to do any registering with Canada Revenue Agency. Having said that, you would have to do a separate 2125 schedule. Canada Revenue Agency likes to see two different types of business schedules when you do your tax returns. So, yeah, it would just be a second business schedule is all you have to create.
So that only apply to people who already have a first business register? So
yeah.
If you're just an employee, that would not
yeah,
be
because and the reason for that is because in each 2125 schedule, there's an area there that says what kind of business you are, and it actually has a numbered code on there. So Canada Revenue Agency likes to track that not only just for your tax return, but also for Stats Canada purposes as well.
Oh, I see. Perfect. Okay, we're coming down to our last question here. How do I know what I can claim and how much I can claim? For example, headphones, prop, or internet, that kind of thing.
Well, you could claim any expense reasonably that you could use that's needed to help generate income. So, common ones would be supplies. Headphones probably yeah, that definitely would be one as well. Laptop for sure. Now laptops you can't write off the whole thing off in a year, but you'd be able to claim a depreciated portion of your computer, which typically is about 55% on your computer.
55% per year depreciation.
Yeah, 55% of the purchase price in the first year.
I see. Perfect. All right, thank you. That wraps up majority of the questions here. So I want to first say thank you for taking taking time out of your busy schedule in the middle of a tax season to help us. I also want to thank you, a Facebook group, VIP Kid Canadian Teacher, for coming up such great questions. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a very good evening. Thanks, Ryan.